Good morning, friends. It's Bob Branch with another edition of the Daily Devo. I'm just so grateful that you chose to join me this morning, and I'm just glad that we can journey in this together. We've been talking about this idea of recapturing some imagination for what God might want for His church in this time. Not just to go back to what we've seen as normal, but to go better than normal. And by doing that, we're looking back to move forward. We're looking back into the book of Acts and into the early church. And with the early Christians, how did they work this out? And how did the Lord work with them to work some of these things into the fabric of these early believers? And how did they work it out? Now, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't prescriptive. That is, it's not prescribing that this is the way that it always has to be. But what it does is it gives us some imagination for what it can be. For what it can be. And so with that in mind, we just talked about that they lived in awe, that we need to recapture awe, that many signs and wonders were done by the apostles, that God is still doing those things today. He's still doing things that we can't do, that He's still moving miraculously. And we need to believe Him for that and continue to walk and to pray with those things in mind, that we take risks, that we count on God doing things that we simply can't do for ourselves. But one of the next things that we see in this particular passage in Acts chapter 2 is this remarkable togetherness. Here's what it says. It says they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to the prayers. Everyone was filled with awe, and many wonders and signs were performed through the apostles. And now all the believers were together, and they held all things in common, or they shared everything. They sold their possessions and property and distributed the proceeds to all as any had need. Every day they devoted themselves to meeting together, and in the temple, and broke bread from house to house. They ate their food with joyful and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And every day the Lord added to the number those who are being saved. So here in this particular passage, one of the things that strikes me is together. They're together in their homes. They're together in the temple. They're together. They're sharing. They're together. There's this incredible togetherness. And one of the things I think that's profound about this is that God is, through the church, addressing the essential human need for connection. That we do these things together. That God didn't just, kind of send His Son so that He could give you a personal ticket to go to heaven. That God actually sent His Son to call you into followership, that you would be His follower, that you would be a follower of Jesus. That's Jesus's call. That's the call of the disciples, of the apostles. The call is to follow Him, and He has made that possible by providing forgiveness for us, by taking His sins, in sin, death, and Satan's right to us, on into Himself on the cross, and then rising on the third day like He said He would. That actually paved the way for us to fully follow Him. That's the point, is that we become His followers. And His followers are not just followers because they're going to heaven when they die. They're His family on earth. They are, I'm going to say it, a colony of the kingdom of heaven. They're a colony of the kingdom of heaven on the earth, and they present a completely different vision of reality, a together vision of reality. Our culture is so incredibly individualized, it's so incredibly personalized and privatized, and everyone is struggling in their own private war, their own private battles together, and God wants to actually meet those things in connection with other people, in community. There is togetherness in them. And this is a great challenge for us because our lives have become so terminally busy that we can't access this kind of togetherness. Some of us have experienced different seasons of this when we were younger believers, but we don't have it now. Why? Well, a lot of times it's because we're too busy. We have busified ourselves. We have over-invested ourselves in all of these other things, and we have no time for togetherness. Most of the time, I find that lots of families, they don't have time for togetherness. Why? Because, well, we got to take little Johnny to violin lessons, and Frida, we have to take to soccer, and this one to that, and this one to that, and we're so invested in all of these other things that true, blessed believers' togetherness has been exited from the equation. And God wants us to redeem that, but it's not God wants us to be together in thousands of people. God wants us to be together in small clusters of people. That's the primary mode when the early church is being talked about in the Bible, in the New Testament. For a very short time that they meet in Solomon's temple. It begins to be too difficult to meet there, and they're being persecuted. They meet small in the small throughout the Roman Empire, throughout Jerusalem, and they flourish. They flourish that in these smaller contexts, in small groups, in smaller gatherings of people, you have a chance to really connect with people. And when you do, your heart begins to come alive. Who you are and what you're made for, if you will allow yourself, is now becoming available. It's beginning to be flushed out and to be awakened within you, that you actually have something to contribute to other people, and that in that together context, in that beautiful community of the people of God, in that family, the small and significant family, in that, now we come alive. I want to say to you that if you don't have that, you are missing out on what it means to come alive. You will not come alive by simply investing in a church service once a week. It's not going to happen. It never was intended to. That in the West, we have sort of made the worship service this fine-tuned machine. We've made it into an art form. We know how to do church services in such a beautiful way as to tickle the hearts and to be very impactful. And I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying that is not going to create the togetherness that your heart and my heart needs. Your heart needs a sense of connection with others. And as you connect with others, mysteriously, you are also connecting with God. You're connecting with God when you connect with others. Now, you don't need to read a book about that. You just know that that's true. That you and I both, we need connection. And as we have that connection, we come alive. And so I want to challenge you today. For one, to ask the question, who is in my life that I really experience togetherness and connection with? Who's in my life? And if you don't have those people, then, and I'm not talking about 6 months ago. I'm not saying, we used to be actually really close with those people. I'm talking about in the present tense. Who are you connecting with? I have a chance to connect with a lot of people. I need that. Not just because I'm an extrovert. I need that because I'm a person. And as a person, I need to experience that togetherness. Introverts, extroverts, anywhere that you are on the Enneagram, anywhere that you are on Myers-Briggs, it doesn't really matter. All of us need this togetherness, and God provides his resources to us through the togetherness. Then I want to ask you, the second thing is, not just who are you connecting with. Secondly, I want to ask you then to reach out to a couple of people that you think that you like to connect with. Reach out to them. Go have a cup of coffee. Go share your life with them. Share your story. Be with them. And then thirdly, join a small group. Join a small group at the Springs. Join a small group and continue in it. If you disagree with somebody, stick with it. When you have to actually go through and learn how to love some people, stick with it. Let that be the glue that helps you and I to grow as people who love really well. Togetherness. Looking back to move forward, we got to recapture the togetherness. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. I love you. I'm walking with you in this. God bless you.